Friends, I must apologize, but this dress which I have delivered you today is so stressful that I require the sounds of Mother Ocean. Yeah, that's soothing. Friends, I cannot express how it gladdens the cockles of my three-chambered heart to address this many-splendored tabernacle once again. And how I wish I could deliver unto you tidings of great cheer and blessings for a better tomorrow. But alas, one pandemic, an armed insurrection, and untold domestic and international crises later, this is not the apocalypse we ordered. Convened in this sacred space, I adjured you to turn your faith to building a better world for our kind, but I was fatally naive. I must confess myself among those who always trusted that a coven of sexless black-robed liches would change the world for the better. But the malignant forces of misplaced morality have regrouped from the backlash that stopped them in the 80s, and the relash is in full swing. Far from a sign of their power, however, it testifies to their desperation, that they must confabulate some real or imagined enemy against which to project their own failings, to distract from their own howling ideological emptiness. Like many of you, I found myself struggling to discern some pattern amongst the chaos and divine some invisible hand pulling the strings of this amateur moral crisis, and to find some sort of olive branch to sue for peace. But that was before I discovered who the real enemy is. And they are truly unspeakable. Not even our weekly Let's Rap About Haster support group is allowed to speak about. A venomous adversary, even more virulent a threat than the surviving members of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all that might handle. Friends, I know that we are speaking of their name will curdle the cream in your coffee, and I beg you to restrain your anger at this, your humble messenger. But we need to talk about the Elder Gods. What's that? You say the Elder Gods aren't real? That they are only vaguely delineated in the most debased second-hand apocrypha? Do we even find references to them? I had to wear out a lot of shoe leather, motivationally beating my homunculus interns to research harder. All I'm saying is that if you didn't learn to make a homunculus out of your blood and generative fluids and train it to do your day job for you, then you wasted this pandemic. As we all know, the Elder Gods were, much like the Christian rapture, a rum concept tacked onto the canon by a blinkered fanboy prophet. Who never let go of his natal binary-obsessed Beneathian sky daddy fetish to assure himself that the great old ones and outer gods were rebellious, deviant slaves in the mold of Satan or Godzilla, and not the true faces of life in the universe, respectively. Most they are a Justice League yard sale of depressingly anthropocentric deities led by Cthulhu, who's basically what you'd get if you let Damien Hirst and Sanrio redesign Cthulhu. Ridiculous and laughable on its face, no? Laugh derisively at it, I command you! I can't feel your scorn. We'll work on that later. Clearly the Elder Gods cannot and must not exist. And they wouldn't if EOD initiates of good faith did not keep worshiping them, thus allowing them to ruin our lives like so many bachelorette parties, torpedoing a perfectly chill neighborhood gay bar. Brother Michael Smith, have you been worshiping the Elder Gods?
Hell no.
Brother Schweitzer, have you been worshiping the Elder Gods?
Well, a couple of them.
Who in this room has been worshiping the Elder Gods? Alas, the truth is that each and every one of us has prostrated ourselves on the platform plastic altars of the elder gods in our hearts throughout our daily lives without ever realizing it. Unwittingly, we feed them the manna they crave to maintain the crumbling status quo in which we collectively suffocate, and to profit handsomely off of us as we do so, even in those moments of commercial therapy in which we believe we are demonstrating our primordial faith.
Laughable indeed, no? Well, laugh while you can, cuttlefish boy.
Out of one prophet's misguided attempt to reframe the starry wisdom in the shape of the Punch and Judy show of all other mouth-breather religions, has sprung the silent mainspring of our undoing and the unexamined instrument of our self-betrayal, because they need not exist nor work actively to thwart us if we accept in our hearts that our inscrutable masters are an aberrant miscreation of higher powers who are, as the Comte d'Erlet affirms, generally benevolent. But are they though? As I pondered this question, I found myself staring at the text of this sermon until my eyes crossed and everything else vanished in the blast of sacred illumination, as I discovered that elder gods is an anagram. According to the Comte d'Erlet, the elder gods created the great old ones and outer gods as servitors, only to have them rebel, thus proving their evil because they didn't want to be slaves. Now, pondering the elder gods, who apparently looked more or less like us, made a pantheon of beings utterly impossible to even describe to help out around the house. One wonders how benevolent or competent they really are. Ask yourself, if you had godlike powers, would creating a bunch of abominable otherworldly slaves to fan you and peel you grapes even make the top 10? Congratulations! You're more ethically involved than an elder god. Conversely, one must wonder how evil the great old ones really had to be if we only had the assurance that they didn't want to be slaves. And last, one must ponder, are they even useful? Are they a threat? I assure you that the elder gods walk among us and they are no bulwark against the great old ones. They're just the ones trying to sell you shit. Well, a god that looks like you and looks out for you so long as you bend the knee has been pretty useful for preserving order before anyone learned how to read. We've all seen how quickly believing your own God is righteous can rationalize any savage misbehavior because the other guys are worse. When new initiates take to the faith, they can be excused for confusing Cthulhu with Satan or Godzilla, and the great old ones as a vengeful antagonist that will rise up in the last days, only to be returned to their place. And if we give substance to this heretical nonsense when we proselytize to the unbeliever by offering up bumper sticker prayers and tchotchke-strewn altars, we hasten an apocalypse of our own making, a downgraded Armageddon that promises no revelation, no holy de-evolution and communion with the masters of all that liveth, but a sordid rapture on a par with the left-behind born-again apocalypse thrillers. A crapture. Heed the words of the prophet Al-Azri. The old ones were, the old ones are, and the old ones shall be. They stand outside, eternal. After winter comes spring.
Death!
And after summer comes
Death!
they're all fired. Moments like this in which we may write together in the light are far too few and far between. And we must revel in them. For the balance of our existence is all too often a lonely journey on a seemingly deserted road, where we see others only dimly, as spheres of light passing in the benthic abyss. And when those others pass us on the right with their feet on the dashboard, binging a Netflix series while their car... It is all too tempting to condemn those others as the authors of our misfortune, keeping us from reaching our own unthinkable destination. We must always face adversity. We must be supple, like the cephalopod. Lifting up our brethren with the suction cups of sharing and the siphons of mutual support. Eluding predators with the ink of obfuscation and the chromatophores of concealment. But, wherever the helpless among us are persecuted, we must don the arthropod's exoskeleton of not taking any shit.
or here is the claw!